The first summer banner is finally here, and the silhouettes look like La Rochelle and Shez, which means it's probably Sacred Stones and Three Hopes. Now, I'm kind of disappointed once again it's not Engage. I don't know when they're going to finally do Engage. Hopefully the second summer banner. But if not, I'm hoping for like Glenn or Ross. And from Three Houses, I would really, really love Petra. Petra would be amazing. I think she's like one of the only females from Three Houses who doesn't have an ult. So I would love to see Petra here. But other than that, let's just jump in and see what we actually got from this banner. There's Shez. Okay, so it is Shez. Wow, I can't believe Shez has gotten this many ults so quickly. She has Swift Slice, and I see low speed defense 4. Oh my gosh. Okay, having Swift Slice is actually kind of insane. That, like, it's a really strong PRF skill. Okay, so let's start off with her preference weapon, Surfer's Spire. Enables Cancer Remaining +1, grants speed +5, unit attacks twice, even if bonus initiates combat, unit attacks twice, deals damage equal to 20% of unit speed during combat, excluding AoEs. Okay, so we already have a very similar weapon to what she has as her legendary form, obviously. It's a bit different, right? You're still gonna have the Brave effect though, and you're getting 20% true damage, which is a very big deal, right? Like, that's what pretty much allows Legendary Shez to do so much damage, and then she even gets Cancer Run +1, which isn't bad. The thing that we do notice though is there's no slaying, and there's actually no special acceleration, unlike Legendary Shez. So that is interesting. Then we go down to Swift Slice, and Swift Slice is obviously the thing that makes her kind of just busted, right? Because it gives her effective against everyone as long as she meets that speed check, and she gets some stats. So that's already really scary. Being a melee hero is very different though than being a ranged hero. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And we already have so many strong sword calves, right? We have like Brave Seliph, who's ridiculous. We have Legendary Nana. We even just got rearmed Chrom, or Fallen Chrom, right? So, okay, let's look at low speed defense 4, because this might actually be nuts. Okay, so we have low speed defense 4. It's exactly the same as normal low speed defense, but the amount of stats you can inflict is much different, right? It's much higher. So you have essentially X equals 4 plus the number of bonus effects. So it's kind of like Brave Chrom. And it says max 8, so I'm guessing in total it's max 8. If it's X equals max 8, then it's 12 actually, which is stupid, so I don't think they're going to do that. So I think either way though, being able to inflict speed and defense -8 on a unit is really strong. It really does push speed creep even further, which is kind of ridiculous considering how strong speed creep already is. And if you imagine this on like something like Brave Seliph, things get really scary. So I think this is a really powerful skill. It's just pretty much a straight up upgrade over low speed defense 3. And that skill is already still pretty usable, right? Like there definitely is some B skills that you might want to use over it in some situations, but especially on calves, lows are really, really good. So I'm kind of afraid to see what this does, because I think this might just push speed creep even further to the point where like it gets annoying to deal with, which I mean it already is, but like, okay, let's talk about Shez's roles, because Shez's roles is pretty obvious. She really wants to be a nuke, right? As her job, she's gonna be a melee nuke, and she can even do hit and run as well, obviously, because she can just run in there with that Cancer Run +1, destroy something with the Brave effect, absolutely annihilate it, and then get out of there. Because you have to think about it, right? Effective damage is already insane. The amount of damage it actually gives you is a 50% boost, right? And then you have 20% true damage based off speed, which is really strong. Like, if you think about it, like just Legendary Yuri, right? That's pretty much his main effect that allows him to do so much damage. And she has that and effective damage and a Brave weapon. So this unit is going to be absolutely ridiculous when it comes to nuking. She's probably going to be one of the best melee nukes we have in the game, I'd imagine. The things that she will have to struggle with is like survivability, right? She's pretty much going to need to kill things within 2 hits, because if she doesn't, she's probably going to explode on the retaliation. Now, when it comes to game modes, I can see her being used as like a hit and run unit, possibly as a Gale Force unit, but probably not, because she doesn't have slaying and she also doesn't have any kind of special acceleration. So what that means is that you would then need to bring something like Asker to get her cooldown down to 4, and then you also need to put like Heavy Blade on her, right, to actually get her to proc Gale Force, because she can't use Flashing Blade, which is what she would want to use. So maybe that's how you could use her. On E3's defense, probably not. Typically, you want the like more of a ranged threat and less of a melee threat, especially a unit who doesn't have like 4 movement. Like Brave Seliph at least has 4 movement, so you can kind of use him on E3's defense. And then when it comes to Summoner Duels, I could see her being used for sure. The Cav Congo lines are very scary in a lot of Summoner Duels maps, so I could definitely see her being used there and her just being able to destroy pretty much whatever she touched. Though I could see her struggling with a bit of survivability, and if she does need a quad, she doesn't have no follow-up, which is something to consider as well. Overall, pretty impressive though. Pretty strong nuke. Definitely going to be able to put out a ton of damage. Oh, it's Ephraim. Okay, everybody called this. I saw a lot of people saying it's going to be Ephraim, which isn't surprising, right? Ephraim devs still exist. I already see a new preference skill. Okay, wow, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start at the top with Sea Foam Splitter, his preference weapon. Okay, so essentially Sea Foam Splitter has slaying, and then if he has 2 or less allies adjacent to him, he gets an extra space of movement, which is extremely strong. We've seen that on like Brave Seliph and on Legendary Sigurd and a few other situations as well, and it's always just very powerful. Then he also gets to inflict attack and defense -6, he gets special acceleration, and he gets 40% damage reduction against the foe's first attack. He does seem to be a bit slow as he is running like Clash, and I assume that he's not going to be the fastest unit because there's no speed in his weapon as well. Okay, so we have Sunlight Bangle, and this is a very weird preference skill. So essentially what it's going to do is it has a Clash effect built into it as long as he is only adjacent to 1 or less units, which essentially means that he's going to get up to 8 attack, which means essentially he's going to be able to inflict attack and defense -8 to a unit depending on how many spaces he moved. He gets a Brave effect, so he can hit twice, which is really scary. And then also whenever he deals damage, he's going to heal 7 HP. But then there's this really interesting and weird effect where if he initiates combat, the foe gets the counterattack before his first attack. So essentially they get advantage, which seems really not amazing to me, right? I can understand with like something like Brave Ike, right, where you're getting an effect if they're getting to attack you twice, so you're getting extra damage reduction. But with this one, it's very weird because what would essentially happen, I guess, is that you'll run in, they hit you, which means you have 40% damage reduction, you get special acceleration, and then you get to blow them up with a bonfire, I guess? That's what they're going for? It doesn't seem that great to me. I would just much rather be able to hit twice, hit once, have the bonfire charged, hit second time, pop the bonfire, right? I would never really want the foe to hit me first, because what if they just hit me really, really hard and I die? When it comes to his roles, obviously, Ephraim can be an amazing Gale Forcer, right? He's going to be able to go in, have 4 spaces of movement, have special acceleration and slaying, so he's going to have a very easy time proccing his Gale Force. And then Sunlight Bangle is also going to give him a ton of stats, so he's going to be able to like really blow things up. Now the weird thing, of course, is going to be the healing, which means that he's not going to be the best engagement unit, as that will essentially heal him out of Wings of Mercy range a lot of times. And then also him getting hit first will also be a bit weird. So we'll have to see how that works out for him, because I'm not completely sold on this unit. Maybe I'm missing something, I don't know. When it comes to other roles, he's going to be obviously a really powerful nuke as a melee cav. And then when it comes to game modes, it's going to be interesting to see, but like I said, Ether Raid's offense definitely could be Gale Force. And then maybe in Summoner Duels as well, he could be used because he does have that 4 spaces of movement, which is extremely powerful, like Duo Dagger combo lines, like I was talking about with Shez. So overall, very interesting unit. Not completely sold on him yet. Who is the demote? Oh, La Rochelle's the demote. Okay. Did she get the Claude treatment though? That's the real question. No. Oh man, they did La Rochelle dirty. That sucks. That super sucks. They didn't give her like, I mean, she gets a new like bomb skill, but who cares? That's like complete garbage. No one cares. Wrathful Staff 3, Blade Session, it's so mid. Seaside Parasol. So we have SR return inflicts guard on nearest foe within 5 spaces of unit and foes within 2 spaces of those foes, equipped with a skill that can trigger the savior effect. Okay, at start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than 25%, grants attack speed +5 to unit and inflicts res -X on foe during combat. X equals number of bonus and penalty effects active on foe times 4, max 16. Okay, so her weapon's actually pretty interesting. I think that actually has some good value there. Being able to put guard onto armors is a very big deal because it can really stop them from getting those like defensive specials continuously proccing, right, with like hardy fighter builds. Or even if they're going for like more of like offensive builds, it can shut down their special, meaning that they don't secure kills. And in particularly target savior units. That's interesting as well. And then the actual stats on the weapon aren't bad, right? You're getting attack and speed +5, and then you're getting a giant res debuff on the foe based off their bonuses and penalties. So I think this is actually pretty solid and heritable staff. Not bad, but I really wish they would have given her better treatment and just given her a preference weapon. Like they could have just made this a preference weapon and then just made it like 14 might and have like slaying on it, and that would have been enough, right? Like they didn't have to do that much more. So it's a bit disappointing to be honest. Okay, let's move on to the star of the banner. Who is going to be the duo or harmonic? I think it's a duo this time. Wow, it actually is Shamir and Catherine. I saw people saying this. Okay, so you have partnership bow, and you have essentially slaying. You have your normal effective against flying, and then at start of turn, you get to inflict 2 debuffs on the nearest foe within 5 spaces and the allies around them within 2 spaces, which is Discord, a new effect that lets you communicate with your friends over the internet. No, I'm just kidding. And Panic. And then also, at start of combat, if your HP is greater than equal to 25%, you're getting +5 to all stats. And then you also get a massive stat penalty on the foe on their speed and defense based off the number of bonuses and penalties they have. They will get -4 to each of the stats based off the number of bonuses and penalties, which doesn't include stats, but still. And you get up to max 16. And then if they do have a bonus or penalty active on them, she even gets anti-guard and she gets offensive null follow-up. So that's really strong. And then Discord itself, the new buff we've gotten, actually inflicts attack and speed, defense, and resistance minus X on the unit as well, where X is 2 plus the number of allies within 2 spaces of that unit, max 5. So effectively, she can get up to plus 26 to all stats from her weapon. That's horrifying. Like, the only thing she's really missing is like a times pulse effect, maybe. That way she could like more consistently proc Deadeye. But other than that, like, that's just stupid. That's really, really strong. And then we have Remote Sparrow, which gives her the damage reduction she needs so that she can actually survive. And then we have the new Brash Assault 4. Let's check this out. Okay, so Brash Assault 4 essentially has 2 conditions to activate. Either your HP has to be less than 99%, or the foe's HP has to be 100%. And then you also have to initiate combat. And then you get defense and res minus 4 on the foe. You get more damage reduction. You get 30% more damage reduction against the foe's first attack. You get a guaranteed follow-up attack. And then you get an Ice Mirror effect even, where whatever damage you reduce gets added to your next attack, which is pretty strong. I think this is actually a pretty solid B skill. Now, obviously the condition is not perfect. It's not the best condition ever, but a unit like that can guarantee that they're either below 100% HP or that the foe's at 100% HP can use this pretty consistently. The guaranteed follow-up attack doesn't really help her all that much, I would say, because she has offensive no follow-up and she's pretty fast, so it's not gonna be the biggest deal. But the Ice Mirror effect, I think that's really where this thing is gonna stand out. Having that Ice Mirror effect is really, really powerful. We've seen that on Atree's Preference B skill, and it just allows her to hit way harder, and it also gives survivability, right? When you combine Remote Sparrow and the Brash Assault damage reduction, it's going to make her pretty difficult to one-shot unless you have something like a Deadeye or Lethality to hit back with. So I think this unit's actually going to be pretty cool. Let's check out their duo skill first before we go into the rolls. Okay, this is pretty interesting. I don't think this is broken, but it's definitely very good, right? Because essentially Gravity can be really strong, but if you think about it, like Thor's duo skill has Gravity just built into it, like as a secondary effect, and it's even better than this, right? But Feud is what's really interesting to me, because Feud can essentially turn off all the support effects, including Fallen Maria. So we are already seeing a Fallen Maria nerf, and it's been like, what, like 2 banners since she came out? So that's kind of insane that they're already nerfing her. Now, obviously, you can only use this once per battle. There's no like renewal effect where you can keep doing it. So that is something to consider. But it is important because it can shut down a lot of the powerful support effects of like Fallen Maria or Shamir or whoever else, right? And that is something definitely to consider. I don't think this is like the most powerful duo skill, but it definitely has its uses. Okay, let's talk about Shamir's roles and what game modes she'll be used in. Now, her role obviously is a nuke. That is her main role. That's what she's going to be doing. She can technically offer a bit of support through her duo skill, but it's not really something you're going to be relying on. And it's not really something you're going to be focusing on when you're trying to pick this unit. The reason why you're picking this unit is because she can do a ton of damage and she has massive stat swings, which what that means is that she's going to be able to win a lot of speed checks, right? Being able to get 26 speed from your weapon is actually just absurd. Even like units like Alir don't get you that many stats from their weapon. So it's going to mean that she's going to be able to double pretty easily, especially when you consider she has offensive no follow. So this unit's going to probably be able to do pretty consistent damage. The one thing I am worried about is Deadeye being reliably proc. It's kind of the same thing with Hinoka, but the difference is that Hinoka actually has special acceleration, which does help, while Shamir doesn't. So Shamir's kind of relying on them to hit her back so that she can actually get Deadeye off, because otherwise if they don't retaliate, she'll just hit them twice and then Deadeye will be charged. So that is one thing to consider when it comes to her damage capabilities. Her other role obviously could be hit and run. She can do that pretty well, especially if you put like a Far Trace skill in her B slot instead of Brash Assault 4. When it comes to game modes, I could definitely see this unit being used on Ephraim's defense. If you're still running those like more tricky cav lines, she could fit on this fantastically, especially because on Ephraim's offense, so many people like to stack up stats, right? They love to stack up effects and stats, and Shamir is just going to punish them for that. So that's going to allow Shamir to hit really hard and do a ton of damage and just get all those stat effects, right? So I think that's probably going to be her best role. You could technically use her and hit and run on offense. I think she'll do fine, but I don't think that's going to be the best place to use her. Probably Ephraim's defense. And then when it comes to summon duels, I could definitely see her being used as well. That feud effect is really strong against like units who need support effects, and it does counter Fallen Maria, who isn't exactly prevalent yet because she kind of got screwed over by the captain skills of the season she came out in. But she is very powerful, and when you run into her, she can be very, very annoying and difficult to deal with. Okay, let's move on to the final section, should you pull? And the answer to that is a bit of a tricky one. If these are your favorite characters, obviously pull for them, always pull for favorites. But when it comes to what roles they actually fulfill, most of them are just nukes, right? We've gotten essentially 2 melee nukes and then a a ranged nuke in the form of Shamir. Now, I do think these units are very strong, but I don't think they're like must pulls by any means, right? We already have a ton of offensive red sword calves that can replace Shez pretty easily, and when it comes to calves, I'm not honestly sold on Ephraim quite yet. He definitely can pack quite the punch, but having that effect where the enemy gets to attack first is definitely a downside in my opinion, and I would always prefer to use someone like Summer Dimitri or like Groom Roy over him just because of that, because I think that could definitely bite you in the butt a lot of times. And then when you come to the Shamir, there's also a ton of ranged nukes that are already in the game, so if you already have one, you don't necessarily need Shamir as well. When it comes to some good reasons to pull though, there is some insane fodder on this banner. I think low speed defense 4 is actually extremely powerful, as it can allow you to win a ton of speed checks, as it also removes the foe's speed buff and also gives you up to 8 more speed, which is insane for a B skill. And then also there's Brash Assault 4, which I think is a really interesting skill and can definitely be used on some units, though I think it's going to take some more practice and some testing to see exactly which units can make the best use of it. Now, the final thing you have to consider though is that we will be getting another New Heroes banner coming up pretty soon, and then there's also the second Summer banner, which is always a big deal as well. So you don't need to feel any pressure to pull immediately. These banners last 1 month, which means that we'll have enough time to see the other Summer banner, and then you can decide which one you like more and then pull on that one. Personally, I don't know how hard I'm going to be pulling on this banner. I might do a few pulls, but I'm not going to go like really hard on this. I do love Catherine a lot, but her not being the main unit kind of is a downside for me. Also know Petra's a bit of a disappointment, and as much as I love Ephraim, I'm not completely sold on his weapon yet. But now I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of this banner? Are you going to be pulling? Are you super excited for these units being added to the game? Or maybe you're just interested to pull for some fodder? Either way, make sure to drop a comment down below letting me know. And as always, I'd love to thank all my members for all their constant support, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion, catch you later.